Yeah, 30 seconds.
Good morning. Would we all please stand for the invocation provided by Commissioner Barr, and then we'll follow that with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us bow in an attitude of prayer. Gracious Heavenly Father, we say thank you for the night of rest and for the wonderful opportunity it is to be present today. Lord, guide us, direct us, use us for thy service and serving others throughout our community. As we made a tour of the county landfill this morning, we just lift the employees and all those involved at the landfill, the awesome responsibility, Lord, the safety and protection of many of our citizens that travel in and out of that facility, and Lord, just the big heavy equipment and just a lot of activity. Just use us for thy service. May we honor and please you in all that we do and say. We ask it in thy name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. I'd like to call the October 17th, 2017 Washington County Board of County Commissioners meeting to order. With that, we are going to be requesting a motion to approve two sets of minutes, one for October 3rd and one for October 10th. And let's do those one at a time. So let's do October 3rd first.
Okay. So moved.
We have a motion and a second for the approval of the October 3rd minutes. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 4-0, one abstained. And now the October 10th, 2017 minutes. Need a motion for the approval of those minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 5-0. Thank you, Commissioners. Commissioners' reports and comments. Commissioner Kiefer.
As Commissioner Barr alluded to, we did have our visit at the landfill this morning. I want to thank Rob and his staff for scheduling that, and Julie Pipple and Dave Mason for taking us on the tour. There sure is a lot that goes behind the scenes to taking care of our community's trash and garbage. And your comments were very appropriate, Commissioner Barr, in our prayer. So I appreciated that, and I think that might be maybe a new direction for the county, getting out a bit more often and going on field trips like these and truly understanding from our employees' perspectives what goes on in the county. Thank you.
Well, I was told you were the one that threw that idea out to take a tour of but you forgot to bring the donuts with you.
I didn't bring the donuts, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Klein.
Good morning, everyone. Just a quick update of the Williamsport American Legion World War II monument. It was installed. I'm not sure how they're going to do their agenda, if any of the commissioners will be asked to do a proclamation or anything. That's in the hands of their staff, but I know there will be a big celebration on the 11th day, 11th month, 11th hour on November the 11th. So I think you've all received an invitation. I know we'll be spreading different directions with so many other events, but we did commit $10,000 towards that monument, and I am asked by the commander today to once again thank the commissioners and the citizens for this outreach program of patriotism from the Legion. So I want to let everybody know you're welcome to attend as the agenda is finalized. I'll let everybody know, but again, on behalf of the Legion, they want to thank the commissioners.
I want to thank you, Commissioner Klein, for all of the hard work and effort that you'd put into helping them raise money and being involved in the project from day one.
Thank you. Our veterans are leaving us every day, and this is another opportunity to show them honor and respect. Thank you. That's it.
Commissioner Myers? Commissioner Barr?
Yes, a couple things. Good morning to everyone. Last Thursday evening, the Maryland Symphony Orchestra held their annual Conductors Circle celebration, and I always find it pleasurable, and anytime I can promote the Maryland Symphony Orchestra in our community. I don't want to sound like a broken record, but when you look at, we're not the state seat, certainly not the largest municipality, but for the past 35 years, we've had the Maryland Symphony Orchestra based here in downtown Hagerstown at the wonderful and beautiful Maryland Theater. And as you all know, that I'm a champion for that venue, and would fall on my sword to make sure that we never lose the Maryland Symphony Orchestra here in our local community. Just another note, yesterday I had the pleasure of going to Kent County on behalf of Maryland Association of Counties, still very much involved as immediate past president, and at our summer conference, each of the counties and city of Baltimore has a display that's well attended, and Washington County likewise. I know Dan is here this morning, and along with our group and your group, we put a display on at the summer conference. And this year, Kent County's display was voted first place, and with that, they got a $5,000 check, and they opted to donate that to the Kent Center right in downtown Chestertown. So Jerry Walker, the current acting president of MACO, and myself and Virginia White traveled up there and presented that $5,000 check to them. And it's the Kent Center is a day program for challenged individuals, and they have 70 that are assigned to them on a daily basis, and it really brings you back to earth and humbles you when you can make those kind of appointments and give those kind of things back to the communities. So it's a nice trip down and back, and again, we continue to your membership. Our membership at Maryland Association of Counties, speaks volumes not only with Washington County but across the state. So again, thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner. For myself, I don't have anything to report. And let's move to reports from county staff. We have any staff here today would care to report anything? Okay. Administrator Slocum.
To follow up on this morning's meeting, staff will bring before the commissioners a formal report on an update on the waste energy options that are available, current status of the contract, et cetera. So thank you on behalf of staff for attending. All five commissioners, thank you very much. That's all I have.
Thank you. Any other staff, boards and commissions? Attorney, anything? No. Okay, citizens' participation. We have any citizens here today that would care to participate? Okay, we don't have any citizens' participation. Let's move to character counts proclamation. And I saw Mrs. Brooks here today, so you can come up, introduce yourself, and tell us all about character counts and give us your wishes.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Carolyn Brooks, and I'm the chairperson, director of Character Counts, Washington County, and I've been at this for 25 years. I figured it out this morning since my daughter was in elementary school. In the past year, we've had a number of conversations in the community, and it's been an opportunity for the community to share their thoughts about different issues from their perspective. For example, the first conversation we had last October was a conversation between law enforcement and the community. And it was a safe place where people could express their feelings, and it was an opportunity for both sides of the perspective to be shared, and everybody left feeling better about each other. And so Character Counts has been, the main goal in the effort is to make sure that conversations happen in the community, because sometimes perceptions can lead to negative feelings, and so we support positive contributions to our community. We work strongly with the school system, and any of you who have children in school or grandchildren, or you know some children in school, they can recite the 6 pillars of character counts, which are trustworthiness, respect, responsibility, fairness, caring, and citizenship. So we've always felt very strongly that it's important to talk about ethical behavior, ethical choices, the positive that comes from good choices and the negative that comes from poor choices. And so our coalition has been, like I said, 25 years trying to infuse those character traits into the community. As a matter of fact, we're having a conversation tomorrow at Elgin Station between 8:30 and 11. So if anybody wants to join us, you can see us in action. The Character Counts Coalition has offered scholarships to graduating seniors each year. We've been able to find sponsors for those scholarships from time to time, and otherwise, the coalition does take care of awarding these $500 scholarships. So if anybody would be interested in sponsoring a scholarship, just you know where to find me. What we want to do this year is, in the spring, we want to reintroduce an event that used to happen in the past. It was a partnership between the county and Character Counts where we recognized the students that had been nominated for showing good character traits in their school day or in their community, as well as the youth meritorious students that you recognize on a monthly basis. So if the commissioners could find their way to help us reinvent that wheel and revive it, I think it was a very worthwhile effort. Often you see things in the media, with all due respect, about negative things that young people do, but Character Counts shows us that there are a lot of young people in this community that do really good things, and we're able to showcase it that way. So that's, kind of a sidebar request I'd like to make. But, just wanted to let you know that, Character Counts is alive and well in the community, and, we want to make sure that you're always aware of the events that we are presenting to the community, and thank you for your support.
When you mentioned the partnership with the county, it was specific to the awards luncheon?
That was part of it, but at one time the county had a certain amount of funding set aside for it, but I understand, the system changed, and so it's competitive following the SCIP guidelines, so.
Rob, and this is just from my information, could you find out what our contribution to character counts was in the past? And I would, at the minimum, I'd certainly be interested in being a partner for the awards luncheon. I can't imagine that being too terribly expensive. But you bring kids from all over the county along with their I guess mostly school counselors
And a parent.
and parents.
Mm-hmm.
Was there funding through gaming or community organizational funding groups at all? COF?
Years ago, it was directly through the county commissioners because we were on that list. And then there's also been funding in partnership with the local management board. So there have been a couple different ways that the support has come. So you can find it.
Commissioners, at the minimum, they'd be okay at least in partnership on the awards luncheon? You went to that, Tom, right?
I think that's a great idea.
Thank you.
Okay, we do have a proclamation, and Commissioner Barr fought me for it, so he's going to be the presenter.
Absolutely. I have to say, Carolyn Brooks is one of my favorite ladies in this community. She is tireless, fearless, hardworking. You do so much with so little. If any of my fellow commissioners have ever visited Carolyn's office, it is just stacked. I don't know how you even work. It's so small, but yet it's all stacked up with resources, and it's amazing. And, not only character counts, but on the community college board of directors, and the list goes on and on. I know, so it's not surprising when you want to get something done, you call it busy. So on behalf of my fellow commissioners, it's my honor to present a proclamation here today called Character Counts Month, October 2017. Whereas young people will be the stewards of our communities, the citizenry with good character, and concerns about the character training of children has taken on new sense of urgency as violence by and against youth threatens the physical and psychological well-being of the nation. And more than ever, children need strong, constructive guidance from their families and their communities, including schools, youth organizations, religious institutions, and civic groups. The character of a nation is only as strong as the character of its individual citizens, and the community benefits when young people learn that good character counts in personal relationships, in schools, and in the workplace. And character development is first and foremost an obligation of families through efforts by faith communities, schools, youth, civic, and human service organizations also play an important role in supporting family efforts by fostering and promoting good character. Every adult has the responsibility to teach and model core ethical values, and every social institution has the responsibility to promote the development of good character. Therefore, we, the Board of County Commissioners, Washington County, Maryland, proclaim October 2017 as Character Counts Month and encourage our citizens, our schools, our businesses, and our government to support Washington County's Character Counts program. Signed the 17th day of October by your county commissioners. Thank you. Yeah, y'all want to get
Sure.
All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Okay, next will be the Economic Development Week proclamation. Washington County Economic Development Commission and the Washington County Department of Business Development. And how are you today?
Very well, thanks.
So you can introduce everyone that's with you and then give us all of the good news.
Good morning. I have Cassie Lewis with me, who is the Department of Business Development's Director. I also have my Vice Chair, is that our title? With us today. So Gary and I will be presenting the Economic Development Week for the state of Maryland is next week, October 22nd through the 28th, and Washington County will be participating in this event. We look to promote the live, work, and play, and the growth of the business climate and for economic development in Washington County. We have a series of events scheduled for next week, and I'll have Cassie share with you the first.
We have an export forum on October 25th, and you might be asking yourselves, why is it important to export? About 95% of the world's consumers live outside the United States. What we'd like to do is convince our companies here in Washington County to increase their sales and their revenue by selling their goods and services abroad. And so what we've done is we've pulled to companies about why they should be exporting. And in particular, what they'll be emphasizing is if you're looking to even out your sales throughout the year, and if you're looking to avoid the seasonality of the domestic market or a slump that could occur here in the United States, one way to even out that slump is to look to foreign markets. So we want to talk to companies about thinking about that. There's a lot of fear, a lot of misconceptions. So we're also bringing in Beachley Furniture, Jameson Door, and we're bringing in an engineering firm out of Montgomery County that exports its services. So that'll be on the 25th, and we're going to have it at the Academy Theater, and we're looking forward to that as a big part of Economic Development Week. Julie?
Also that week, we are doing a business ambassador program. In the past few years, we did a Loves My Business event where we surprised people at their businesses and thanked them for doing business in Washington County. This year, we've decided to take a different turn. We've signed up 36 different businesses in the county that we will send out ambassadors that will represent us to these businesses to see why they love to do business here in Washington County and how we can be helping them grow their business. We have 24 ambassadors helping us on Thursday, and we have 26 ambassadors helping us that Friday. We're hoping that some of you can join us. I believe some of you have already signed up to go out and meet these businesses and to see what their needs are here in Washington County. Gary?
Yeah, and we hope that one of the outcomes of this will be, if you have looked forward on your schedule, you'll see that on October 31st, we're scheduled to have a joint luncheon again with the county commissioners. So the timing on this is perfect. We hope to get some feedback from some of these companies, what's working, what's not working, and have some open, honest discussions, open, candid discussions with the commissioners about things we're doing right and things that need to be improved. So timing is perfect. This will be a good precursor to and preparation for a meeting on the 31st. So I hope we all can attend both. I hope many of you can participate in the ambassadorship program, but if you can't, we certainly hope you're available on the 31st for the luncheon and the discussion at that time.
Any questions?
Okay, any questions? Her statistic there that 95% of our consumers live outside of the USA, that's all based on population. I've never heard it presented that way, but it makes sense.
Yeah, it is based on the world's population. 95% of the world's consumers live outside the United States. I think we're trying to convince our companies that there's a big market out there.
I think one thing we learned on a business trip visit that J.D. Reinhardt and if they're in Smithsburg, ships a lot of his apples overseas.
Yes, they do.
South America.
And David Beachley tells an interesting story, about being reluctant to export, being afraid of it, all the misconceptions. He did one sale, and it just opened up the world to even more sales. So he's going to talk a little bit about that and try to help our companies overcome misconceptions and take that very first step.
Very good.
And I'm sorry, sir.
I'm sorry. On the business ambassador days, do those businesses know we are coming? Like the Washington County Loves My Business, that was a surprise visit, right?
Correct. This is a scheduled business, so they know we're coming. We're going to spend about 45 minutes at each business, and they know the questions we're going to ask ahead of time, and they're prepared for us. But we're also making a little gift packet for them like we did with Love My Business to say thank you for letting us come in and share and for doing business here.
That actually picks up on what I was going to say, is that staff and the EDC have worked very hard at having a programmatic approach to this, and that it's not just we're here. It's here what's working, as Gary said, and what's not working, both sides, to have a very formal approach, informal but yet formal, as to how can we reap the most benefit from each visit. So very, very impressive how it's been approached.
And I think it's important to recognize Teresa Shank, who is an EDC member, and she's been leading up the efforts to make this work. And she's been relentless in her recruitment of ambassadors. So a great shout out to Teresa for the fine work she's doing.
Can I make a shout out too to county staff across departments? They were invited to be ambassadors, and we have county staff from the sheriff. We even included like the Department of Social Services. Unfortunately, David can't be with us, but he said, sign me up for the next time. So we've reached across all kinds of organizations and sectors to meet our business community.
Okay, any other comments? Have none. I'd like to ask, this is Economic Development Week, and the county does have a proclamation, and Commissioner Myers will be presenting the proclamation. Thank you, Commissioner.
Whereas economic development efforts have and will continue to improve the economic well-being and quality of life of Washington County by helping to create and retain jobs that facilitate business growth, provide a stable base, and whereas economic development requires county-wide teamwork with all the government, workforce development, educational, private business, and various other partners to be successful. And the economic growth and stability of the state affects all regions of the jurisdiction of Maryland and Washington County is an important component to the state's economic success and will highlight and promote Washington County's economic development efforts in our county. So therefore, we, the county commissioners of Washington County, do hereby proclaim October 23, 2017 through October 27th as Economic Development Week, recognizing the past, current, and future efforts of those who participate and support private and public economic development efforts to all levels of federal, state, county, and city municipalities.
Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Washington County Convention and Visitors Bureau Annual Update. Mr. Spedden, Mr. Martin, how are you two today?
Man, that Al Martin's in here once a week. I tell you, nicest guy I ever met.
Today's Convention and Visitors
All
Bureau.
right, good morning to you. Welcome.
Good morning. While Dan's passing out the reports, I'll just start by saying that we appreciate this opportunity to do our annual report as required with you and to share good news about the state of tourism in Washington County. So Dan's going to open with some of the comments about where we stand, and then I'll walk us through some of the financial numbers here.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I'll start out with two anecdotes. The National Fall Lacrosse Festival Tournament will be held in our community October 28th and 29th. It's a sold-out event. The event has already signed on, already under contract for 2018 on October 27th and 28th. The event will take place at 3 venues on 21 athletic fields St. James, the North High School Complex, and the Hagerstown Soccer Complex and Grace Academy are all benefiting financially from the tournament. 200 teams are participating this year. That's up from 136 last year. That'll be 4,400 athletes converging on our community weekend after next. This is a youth tournament, so these kids don't travel alone. So the general multiplier is ×3. So there'll be about 13,000 people converging on our community 2 weekends from now. And then the USA National Road Amateur Championship is going to be held here in 2018 and 2019. In 2018, it'll be July 26th through the 29th. We're expecting 800 to 1,200 athletes, and we hope to sell up to 3,000 hotel nights on that one athletic event. We're having good success with athletic events, and we're going to work that market more aggressively. Right, amateur cycling. The tourism impact numbers from the last full year where we have data, we had 1.248 million visitors come to Washington County. These visitors spent $263.3 million in our community. 26.9% of that went to food and beverage. 21.8% went to retail, 18.5% went to transportation. You got to get fourth down the list before lodging appears. 15.1% was spent on lodging. Lodging is generally where our minds go right away when we talk about tourism's impact, and it's the best barometer we have because it's the most accurate statistics we can get. But it's fourth on the list of benefactors, food and beverage being overwhelmingly the biggest benefactor of the tourism industry here in our county. Over 5,000 people, 7.8% of the county workforce is employed now in tourism. And my last bullet point, 3 years in a row, the Washington County lodging tax has topped the $2 million mark.
Thanks, Dan. You know, one of the things that I find is very telling, and I'll share if you're interested again. I typically will pass out this sort of statistical chart that shows by month the history of the room tax revenues for the last 10 years. And then we also added, had our staff person add a little thing at the bottom that shows sort of the annual revenue by year. When we spun off as a county department to become an independent agency, the room tax revenue at 3% in the county that was being generated was generating about $430,000 a year. That was in 1998. In 2008, it had grown to $780,000, and now recently, as we'll see, as Dan was saying, it's now over $1 million at 3% that the Convention and Visitors Bureau is using, and then the county is also using or receiving an equal amount of 3% of over $1 million a year from the hotel motel tax. So the entrepreneurship of having a board made up of members that have an interest in the industry, I think has resulted in what I see as a tremendous investment and growth in our revenues. And a trend has been seen of going from, while we still have welcome centers and places for people to come and get information, we're doing a lot more than just having a roadside stand waiting for people to show up on the doorstep. And it's very entrepreneurial, very driven to bring events like the USA Cycling National Program or these sports organizations or others to the community. And I think that really is one of the things that has been very telling in the results that we've been able to see in growth in tourism in our community. With that as background, I'd like to take a few minutes and just walk you through the audit report, which is the document we passed out today. Our fiscal year end is on a calendar year, so it's January 1 to December 31st. So our last fiscal year end was December 16th. We have our books audited by Smith Elliott Kearns and Company. If you go to page 1 and 2, you can see their opinion. Basically, page 2 shows that we have a clean opinion that the financial statements present fairly in all material respects our financial position and results of operation. And then page 3 actually gets into the actual numbers. And I guess prior to Dan's coming, we had a transition of almost a year where we were between executive directors, and at that time, then board chair Julie Rahm, who's now your EDC chair, was our CVB chair, and she and I and other staff people filled in, and we went on a national search. We were very excited to get Dan, a local person, to be the finalists and the top person in that search, but we had built up some reserves. So over the last 2 years, we have been spending down our cash a little bit, and you can see here that our cash balance has decreased basically about 60 some thousand, $70,000 between 16 and 15, and we decreased resources in 15 as well. Overall, though, we're still in very sound shape. If you look at our current liabilities, they're basically trade payables, everything current, and then accrued wages and payroll taxes, and then some deferred income that relates to timing of when membership money is received or payments towards the annual visitor's guide. Our unrestricted assets fell a bit during the year from $185,000 to $157,000. That was the result of about a $30,000 decrease or operating loss for the period, but that was planned for and budgeted. As I said, we're spending down our resources a little bit. One thing I did want to point out while we're still on this liability page is that we have a $100,000 line of credit. We used to tap into that regularly on a regular basis to meet operating expenses. We've been fortunate that we haven't had to tap into that line now for at least several years. So the CVB, I think, has certainly strengthened its financial position. If you turn to page 4, you can see our revenues were up for the year at $1.2 million, $1,211,000. The room tax revenue on an annual basis, a calendar year basis, from January 1 to to December 31st, were $1,016,000, down a bit from the prior year, but still quite substantial, over combined $2 million in both the CVB and the county share. The grants were up a bit, and again, that was partly timing related, but that was primarily grants from the state of Maryland to help support some of our marketing efforts. You can see we took in the visitor's guide directly in production, so we made increased revenues on that, and the other items pretty much stayed the same. On our advertising expenses, we had made a big bump up in 2015 to initiate a new I'll just call it mobile marketing campaign that Dan has shared with you about in the past, where we're communicating as people call up their cell phone anywhere from Indiantown Gap above Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, all the way down to Woodstock, Virginia. People are being notified and having local messages come up about our local community and businesses along the interstate in the I-81 corridor. That certainly has been very beneficial in helping us maintain room tax revenues in a period where we haven't had any major events like 150th Antietam or 150th Gettysburg or other things like that. So new things are coming in to replace some of those things that we thought we'd see a drop-off in revenues, but we really have not seen a significant drop-off. So we look on down here, our other expenses have been fairly constant. We did see an improvement in our bottom line. Again, we planned in 2015 to see a drop in our net assets, and we planned also to see that in 16. And we're about feeling comfortable with the targets where we're at, that in the current year, we started a plan to rebuild some of our cash reserves just a little bit. So that'll be part of what you'll see next year when we report. The next page 5 just shows the statement of cash flows and our overall change in cash position. One thing I did want to point out in the notes, if you turn back a couple pages in the notes to page 8, is a breakout between our expenses between program and management in general by function, instead of looking at the type of expense. And The good news here is that we are largely program-driven, a small amount in management general. I think the management and general portion is less than 15%, and our programmatic portion is close to, well, 88, 89%, something in that range. So I think that speaks well to the investment going on. And again, when we look at our history of revenues, we're pleased that we continue to see solid growth in the tourism industry in our county, and as Dan was saying earlier, its economic impact on the county. If you'd like, commissioners, we can get you a copy of this. I'll leave mine here, and I'll ask the clerk if she could distribute this. And this helps us as a board and staff at the CVB see where we are and how we're doing, and it's a good benchmark for us to know if the efforts we're doing are working and how well they're working, and if we need to fine-tune or adjust what we're doing on a real-time basis. Does anyone have any questions?
Yeah, on your rental expense, is that multiple properties or just where your current office is?
We lease space from the city of Hagerstown for the Welcome Center, and we're a tenant of High Rock for the office suite.
That used to be city, but the city sold that the corner to High Rock.
Right.
So there are 2 spaces that we're leasing right now.
Any other questions?
I just want to share that our detailed ledgers are available. In prior years, we've gotten sort of I call it the decoder ring of what Smith Elliott combines of our very detailed chart of accounts and our ledger to put the numbers here on the financial statement. So if anyone wants to see more detail or items on what we're spending our money on, we're more than happy to provide that. And I think we already have copies down at the CVB. We'd have to find them again, but if anyone would like, just give Dan a call and we can schedule to do a meeting and walk through the numbers, and if anyone has more detailed questions.
How many members do you have?
About 311,
And our board is how large, Dan?
17.
And we have an executive committee that of officers and a couple other key board members. That executive committee meets monthly, and the board meets every other month.
Right.
And then we have an annual meeting in December, typically early December, of the full membership.
Okay, any other questions? Thank you again for the presentation.
Job well done. Thank you very much.
Again, appreciate the commissioner's support. It's, I think, been a good collaborative partnership. Thank you very much again.
Okay, request to declare certain real property as surplus property and conveyance of the same. Ms. Small? How are you this morning?
Good, thank you. Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Susan Small, Real Property Administrator with the Division of Engineering. Today, my recommended motion is to move to declare the certain real property located at 37 Jonathan Street as surplus property and to authorize the advertising of the county's intent to convey the property. The Board of County Commissioners of Washington County purchased the property located at 37 Jonathan and 111-117 Franklin for the purpose of widening and improving Wareham Alley and creating the new parking lot for the county. The buildings which were located on the 2 properties have now been raised, and we are using them to make way for the needed right-of-way and road improvements. The adjacent property owned by Carmel Enterprises, located at 49 Jonathan Street, has an existing parking area of 4,815 square feet that is contiguous with the 2 county-owned parcels. Staff has approached the property owner to discuss a mutual no-consideration land swap for this contiguous parking area. Carmel Enterprises LLC has agreed to the land swap by signing an option agreement and thereby accepting the county-owned parcel, which is equal at 4,815 square feet. And there is an exhibit attached for you to be able to see the parcels. questions.
So on the map, there, I guess, kind of in the middle where Wareheim Place, it says parcel number, is it 385?
365, right in the middle.
365. So they're giving us that for
The red parcel to the right of it, the 366.
after we get our right of way, or we've already done that?
Right. Mhm.
Yeah, so basically, what used to be the garage, and not too long ago, the car's out in front of the garage, it's been demoed, that's county property. It would only make sense to try to do this swap, to have their property contiguous with their property and the county's property contiguous with its property. So it's a 1-to-1 square foot
It is.
exchange, correct?
Yes. We made it perfect like that.
A lot of work.
When I saw the, it looks smaller.
Well, it does leave them plenty of room to access the back of their building, which was a concern, so we made sure that we took care of that for them. And they're happy with the entrance the way it is off of Wareham. It gives them a contiguous space to their building, so.
Yes. Yeah, the alley that narrows down to 1 lane would expand to 2 lanes.
What's the purpose of the dotted line in the parcel that
Um,
we're swapping for?
oh, that's the back of the building that was there, so that is not gonna be there anymore.
Oh, so that's the back of TNR Tire Zone, that, or?
Yeah, that was, we demoed the buildings that were all on the black site, parcel 127, that's completely empty now. So it allows our parking lot to go from Franklin all the way over to Wareham without having another parking lot in the middle.
Who is Carmel Enterprises?
They're not local to the area, they're from Northern Virginia, but they own parcel 364, the building that was next to the 37 Jonathan garage.
Okay, so what you're requesting today is move to declare the property, the certain real property surplus, and then we'll advertise.
Right.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for the recommended motion. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you. Should I stay for a public hearing?
For the next one, might as well stay. Back up.
Is it on my sheet? Back up to the Business and Visitors and Business Bureau. On the report that they provided in the past, we made a motion to accept their report, and we did not do that today, so let's move back, and I need a motion to accept the report.
So moved.
Second. A motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 5-0. Thank you. What a memory. Okay, on this public hearing, do we need a note or not? No, we don't. Okay, so that's the one I need. Okay, next on the agenda is a public hearing concerning the intention to abandon and convey a portion of Bottenfield Road. The purpose of this hearing is to hear public testimony concerning the matter. The procedure will be as follows. We will first have staff introduce the matter, after which the hearing will be open for public comment and testimony. Each speaker will be given a maximum of 3 minutes to testify. After everyone who wishes to speak has done so, the hearing will close. Commissioners may then discuss the issue and take any action that they deem appropriate, including adoption or rejection of the proposal. or they may take the issue under advisement and deliberate at a later date. And now I would like to ask Ms. Small to present the matter. Good morning again.
Good morning again. Okay, the board has received a request from Valley Meadow Farms LLC to close and abandon a portion of the road, of Cottonfield Road, consisting of approximately 2,636 linear feet, which runs through its property. The portion of the road to be closed and abandoned would begin at approximately 0.6 miles from its intersection with Mountain Road in a northerly direction to the Maryland-Pennsylvania state line. If abandoned, the board intends to convey any interest it may have to the road to Valley Meadow Farms for the sum of $1. And there is an aerial depicting the area.
Okay, thank you. And now we will open the hearing for public comment. Anyone here today wishing to testify? Do the commissioners have any questions? Okay, the
Go ahead, you're going to close the public hearing and then
hearing
I'll
is now
respond.
concluded.
Yeah, I knew.
Okay, and now another opportunity for commissioner comments. And we can do what we want today. There wasn't any opposition.
I'd say I'd make a motion to move forward.
I was going to say, if you just let me, I can explain where we are now. You're correct, the public hearing is now over, so the commissioners can take action. There's a couple different steps. The first step would be to approve a resolution to actually abandon that portion of the road and officially close it. So that would be the first step. And the second step would be to adopt an ordinance to declare that property surplus and then convey it to Valley Meadows Farms for $1. So there's two different steps. First is a resolution to abandon and close that portion of the road.
So you want motions on both steps?
I would take two separate motions. The first is to approve the resolution to abandon and close that portion of the road as was presented today.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for the resolution. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 5-0. Thank you, commissioners.
Okay, and the second step is to adopt an ordinance to declare certain real property as surplus property and approve the conveyance of said property. That would be to convey that portion of the road, declare it surplus, and declare that, or convey that property to Valley Meadows Farms for the sum of $1.
You're from Hancock, you wanna?
Okay.
Yeah,
Motion
you're-
to approve the sale.
Yeah, motion and a second for that approval. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0. Your choice. Okay, that takes care of the public hearing, and want to thank again everybody that participated and put everything together. And best of luck in giving the property back to its original owner. Thank you. Or to the original farm. Say it that way. Okay, agricultural land preservation easement opportunity, Maryland Agricultural Land Preservation Program in Washington County. Mr. Cyphers, how are you this morning?
Good morning. I have another opportunity here today through the Maryland Ag Land Preservation Program. We have already been working with 2 landowners through this program, and this creates a third easement possibility for us this year. The state had some money left over, except they came up $8,478 short. Since the total amount has not been released by the Board of Public Works. We've had to have 2 copies of the ARF, 1 public copy, and then a copy for the commissioners only, so you can see the total amount there. The landowner specifically requested that we try to make up the $8,478. So this is a 45.5 acre property. If you have the map there, you can see that it is actually the green with the red outline. The hatched red is the county installment payment. The other dark green are permanent easements through this same Maryland Ag Land Preservation Program. So you can see we'll plug up a hole there in a block of preservation. This would take about a year till this is approved. The funds would come from our local share of the ag transfer tax. Currently, we're about $3,500 short of this total amount, but we always have gotten at least $60,000 a year into this fund. So by the time they're required, we should have 10 times more than we need to fund this $84.78. The rest of the money's encumbered, and we've accounted for it. So we don't see any problem by the time we're asked to pay this in about a year that we would have this money available. Are there any questions?
Have a motion, a second for the approval. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 5-0. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Okay, joint workshop at 11:30. That's next on the agenda, and that will be on the second floor. So we will recess and move upstairs.